So we've changed the volume of each of our faders, and we've set the panning, and I've done a very rough mix of our song so far. But there's a lot more that we can do, and it comes from adding effects to the tracks. And these are things which can make a track accent certain frequencies, compress a track so we can bring up the softer sections of the track, and many, many, many other effects. And the way we do that is through inserts and sends. Now an insert goes in our insert section, and remember there's 5 inserts A through E, and there's also F through J, so up to 10 inserts. They work sequentially, and the way you pick an insert, let's pick a track here like our guitar track. I will solo that. And the way you choose an insert is you hold your mouse button down on it, and you pick from a menu. Now in Pro Tools, there are 2 types of plugins. If you have an LE or M-powered system, you only have RTAS plugins. And these are plugins which use the CPU power of your computer to run. If you have an HD system, you can also use TDM plugins. These plugins run on the processor cards that you buy with your HD system, and therefore they don't use the processing of your computer as much, and so they're much more efficient. You can add a lot more of them as long as you have room on your processing cards. We're going to go ahead and choose an RTAS plugin. Let's just choose a simple EQ plugin here, and we'll choose a 4-band EQ. Now an EQ accents or decreases certain frequencies, and I can control the EQ just by raising it up and lowering it. The order that you put inserts in is very important. If I then add a compressor, you'll see the track will first go through my EQ, then my compressor. And if I switch the order by dragging, now it will go through my compressor first. And this can have a drastic effect on the sound that you're playing with. I can make an insert go away by just choosing it and choosing no insert. Voila, it's gone. I can drag it to other tracks as long as it's the same type of track. If I try and drag a mono insert to a stereo track, I can do that. If I try and drag it back to a mono track, the plugin cannot be moved there because the plugin's number of input channels does not match. In other words, it's been converted into a stereo EQ, and trying to bring it back to a mono EQ does not work. So you'd have to re-add a different insert there. Now, just like with the output controls that we saw in the last lesson, I can have an insert stay active by deactivating the target button. And as I add another insert, back to my compressor here, you'll notice that this EQ doesn't go away. If I don't have the target button active, as soon as I bring up a new EQ, the old one will go away. I can switch tracks from my insert window. So I'm moving to my low tom, and I can insert a new plugin right from here. I can also change my insert slot. So currently I'm looking at my low tom insert slot C, where I've inserted an air fuzz wah. If I want to move to insert track B, I can do that from here. So all of this happens directly from my insert window. Now you'll notice when I choose my plugins, the way I have it set up, I have a long list of the types of plugins. And then down here I have different manufacturers of plugins. So I can choose a plugin by the type, or I can choose it by the manufacturer. If I know it's a PSP plugin, I can go right here. And the way I set that up is under my preferences. Under display, I can choose organize plugin menus by a flat list, which just lists them all alphabetically, by category, by manufacturer, or by both, as I have now. A couple more things. I can copy a plugin by option clicking it and dragging it. Again, I am on a stereo track, so I have to go to another stereo track. And there it's there. I can even do that on the same track. If I want to add the same plugin to multiple tracks, I could select them. Let's say I want to select these 4 acoustic guitar tracks and add an EQ to all of them, I go up to the first insert and I hold Shift and Option. Shift and Option works on whatever tracks I've selected, and I'll choose, let's say, Kill EQ, and you'll see in a second, one has been added to each track. And they're all different, but they were added at the same time. Now you can get plugins from DigiDesign. A bunch come with Pro Tools. You can certainly buy more from DigiDesign. And you saw from my manufacturer list, there are literally hundreds of manufacturers which make plugins. And as long as they're an RTAS plugin, they will work in Pro Tools. Now there are also Audio Unit and VST plugins. There are 2 other types of plugins that Pro Tools does not support. However, you can find converters that allow you to use those type of plugins within Pro Tools. We won't be covering that in this course, but if you really have an Audio Unit or a VST plugin you love, you can find a converter to let it run within Pro Tools. We'll talk about the plugin window a little bit more in the next lesson.